Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't even want to record this shit. I just want to keep talking to this guy off camera, but I guess we're going to have to record it for you. So I guess, so we have Sean Casey in the house. I got introduced to you by my little short friend. I call him short just to fuck with him, Jamie Grouper. But everybody that's had you on the podcast, they just talk about your story and how amazing it is. So, guys, I'll let you kind of start where you want to, and we'll go from there.
Jeez. Well, thanks, brother. Well, it's funny, Austin, trying to get on here first. I'm like, I had like 6 Zoom, I had one in my calendar, one in my email, one on a saved email. I was like, I had to go back to the text from Gruber. Like, okay, what's going on? So I'm glad we're connected, bro. I'm glad we're connected. Man. First off, man. You know what? I guess, my story now is, I'm out here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the town I grew up in, Upper St. Clair. I got 4 kids. I got 2 in college, one at Dayton, one at Kent State. And then I got 2 little girls. One's a sophomore and one's in 6th grade. So, plugging along, brother, plugging along. And, I'm grateful to be, my parents are still alive and still here in Pittsburgh. And it's funny because, how life comes full circle. My dad's 82 now and he's having open heart surgery in a couple of days. So it's kind of like, we're all a little, uneasy about it. And I think about just my dad's influence of me and my story. Just, if you wanted to start there, I go back to like growing up in this town and coming from just a great family, good people. My mom and dad are both good people. I have an older sister, Beth, just was the 2 of us. And it's funny looking back, I always wanted to, I ended up playing 12 years of Major League Baseball, always wanted to play baseball, but it's funny when you always see the end product of people. You never know what the journey looks like. It's funny, like looking back at my journey, like I was kind of a little overweight, kid, the short, fat kid, probably growing up, like the funny fat friend, at times, you're like, I don't know if I want to be that for the rest of my life. I want to get some girls at some point, So, but I was 14 years old. But I was always the best baseball player, on the field. And what's funny is, I remember that, certain conversations you have in your life that you can go back and say, man, if that conversation goes a little different, maybe my life goes in a different direction. Right. So I remember when I was 14 years old, I was, going to the freshman baseball team. I wasn't playing for the first time in my life. Like I said, it's probably the best player all the way up. But the freshman baseball coach, didn't know me. And there was another kid that he was playing. And I remember going home to my dad and saying, hey, Dad, can you go talk to the coach and let him know that I'm the best player in town? And he just doesn't know it. And was one of the greatest conversations ever with my dad, because, it was like, kind of could have played the victim role and, yeah, you're right, son, let me go talk to the coach and, I'll make sure that you get out there and start playing. And my dad did the exact opposite, kind of made me take accountability for myself and my skills at where I was during that time. And he's like, listen, he goes, I'm not going to go talk to the coach. He's like, obviously, I think you're better than the guy that's playing, but you're not glaringly better. You're not glaringly better. That coach would know it, and he would put you at first base. And he said, there's a batting cage that just opened up down the street, and he's like, I'll make you a deal. If you go and hit every day, I'll pay for the tokens. I'll pay for you to go hit. He's like, as soon as you stop, deal's off. And I was like, let's do it, Dad. He's like, you got to work harder. So that. I didn't play freshman year, but that off season was when I started hitting every day after school. I go hit every day. I found a local guy, this guy, Frank Porco, who gave me hitting lessons for like a half hour on a Tuesday night. I always tell people, listen, you don't get better at your lesson. You get better on the 6 other days that you're hitting by yourself for like 3 hours. You know what I mean? So my journey kind of started there. I started hitting every day. My sophomore year, I ended up I ended up starting on JV. You know, it's funny, like people nowadays, like they want to start varsity as a freshman. Like I wanted to play JV as a sophomore. You know, that was really my goal. And then, you know, as it went on, I my junior year, I started varsity. My senior year, I started varsity, and then, you know, kind of slid in there with no college scholarship offers. And my dad at the time was starting a chemical company called Casey Chemical. You know, probably a bad time to do that. My sister was just going to college. I was just about to go to college, and he decided to start a new company. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy back in like 1990, I think, 1991. And so he was like, listen, if those colleges aren't going to come to you, go to them. And he was like, just like we do in our Casey Chemical network marketing, you know, every month or two, bro, I'd lick 5,000 envelopes of my dad sending out these pamphlets to people hoping to get some, you know, business back. And he was like, why don't you sit down, write 30 letters to any college that you want to go to? And I wrote letters to Division III, Division II, Division I colleges. And it's crazy that the last thing is like, hey, send one to University of Richmond. They have a pamphlet. They sent you a pamphlet last year. And I said, all right, I'll do that. So I wrote one to Richmond, sent it off. And my dad's message the whole time in high school was preparation meeting opportunity. Lux, preparation meeting opportunity. At some point, if you put the work in, an opportunity is going to show up. And he's like, it'd be a shame if you missed it. And I always took that for heart every day when I would hit after school saying that opportunity is coming. And I didn't know if I believed my dad because it was the end of my senior year and I had no opportunities. I had no one coming to me, but it was another lesson of like, hey, don't sit back and wait for life to come to you. Sometimes you got to go get it. And so when I sent out those letters, all that stuff, 4 games to go in my high school career, bro, we're facing this team, Montour here in Pittsburgh. First at bat, double in the gap, bases loaded, boom, a couple runs score. Left center, right center, left center. I ended up going 4 for 4, 4 doubles, 8 RBIs. Best game I ever had in high school. Probably the best game of my life. And I remember my coach saying, hey, how many doubles you have today? 4 doubles. How many RBIs? 8 RBIs. Man, that's great. He's like, you see that guy behind the backstop? That's the University of Richmond pitching coach. He drove up with his wife today to see you play. And I went up, and after the game, Mark McQueen, you know, introduces himself to me. He's like, hey, I really like your bat. I'm glad we drove up. I'll give you a call tomorrow and see if we can give you anything. They offered me $1,000 scholarship at the time. I think it was $30,000 to go to Richmond. My dad was making $33,000, I think, as a chemical salesman, you know, a little bit of a grind. But that's how I ended up getting to University of Richmond, bro. And I ended up starting my freshman year, and 3 years later, I won the NCAA batting title, and I was drafted in the second round by the Cleveland Indians, and my career started. But it wasn't, you know, the start of everything. You know, there was a lot of bumps in the road. And like the preparation meeting opportunity, you know, really happened because of the work that I put in, and just crazy to look back.
I want to read you this quote because this is perfect. I saw this yesterday. Most people wildly underestimate how many times you need to do something to succeed, and wildly overestimate how many times they've actually tried.
Oh, that's good, dude. That is so good. That is so good. So fitting.
We had a big meeting with some investors that want to invest some capital in the business, right? And I'm here, they're in Arizona, one's in California. And I said, hey, we're going to fly to come meet you in person, and we're going to break bread and have dinner. And they're like, wow. Like, and I listened to your story, and it's like, how many times in your life are you not willing when you don't have, you know, and I equate your story to just in general weight loss, right? Which is the easiest thing to analogy. Right. You're working out, you're looking at the mirror, you don't see any difference. How do you keep going?
Yeah.
And like, you're just like, you know what, if I keep showing up, if I keep showing up for myself, I think is the most important thing. There's no telling who's watching.
I love that. I think that's an analogy for life. A big part of the baseball world. And I obviously look at my life now at 47. I retired in 2008, so I've been out of the game for a while. But process, not results. You know, how many times, like, I always look at the process of an at bat. You know, I'm facing Randy Johnson, and which was not a good time, by the way.
No,
you were guys 6'11".
You were left-handed, and the ball looked like it was coming at your face.
No, it's unbelievable. It looked like he was throwing behind you with these long arms. You know, it was a scary thing. But I started to realize when I first got to the big leagues, you know, I think you have that mentality of, oh man, I'm here. And now it's not the minor leagues, it's the big leagues. When you look out and you go, that's Randy Johnson. And boy, and what I realized, when you have that mentality, there's an 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts. Then I faced a guy like Greg Maddux. I'm like, oh, that's Greg Maddux. Then, you know, the guy sliced and diced me, a couple sinkers, 0 for 4. And I started to realize to myself, hey, if I stay with this mindset of that, I care about who that is, and I'm more worried about him than me, I'm in big time trouble. Like, I got to get into my process and what I need to do. I've hit a baseball my whole life. I've worked my butt off since I was 14 years old. So I started to look at Randy Johnson and Greg Maddux as pitching machines. I played a game with myself. I said, I got to focus on my process, because the results aren't going to show up in life or in the game until I focus on my process. My process of baseball was, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath. How fitting is this and how it mirrors life, right? In baseball, when you got a one-on-one, wrestling match, that's what I call it. I got Randy Johnson on the mound. It's the anxiety's created for me. I don't need to create it in my own mind in life. It's already created for me. So that breath saves me, right? That breath is everything. If I don't breathe, I can't play the game, right? So I would take a deep breath, settle in, boom, feel myself relax, turn on my vision. I would tell myself, okay, hunt the fastball, look middle away, hunt the fastball, react in, right? And then after that first pitch, I do the same thing, bro. Step out, deep breath, get back in, see the ball, be easy, hunt the fastball, look middle away, react in. And I would just do that. And then pretty soon, wow, when I can focus on the task at hand, results showed up because my process was so good, right? And I think that's a big part of what you were talking about, is that, like, hey, I think in life, you got to be able to go one moment at a time. Because if not, we can let our minds go to a place sometimes that, is like the maze that we just can't get out of.
Well, I think you really blew my mind there with, I don't need to create extra anxiety. The anxiety's already created there.
Yeah.
And I read a book the other day from this amazing author. I read like 10 of his books. They're just short books. And he's a coach for years. And he said that the way that it's trending for entrepreneurs these days is that their scheduling is mirroring more of an athlete these days. Right. And it's the work that you don't see, right? The time, the creative time, the working out, what I call grinding in the shadows.
I like that.
When you see me speak on stage, or you see me speak at an event, which I'm doing tomorrow,
right?
You don't see the other years of alcohol addiction that made me who I am. You don't see the tears, the parents' divorce, the divorce.
Right.
But that all culminates for me showing up as the best version of myself in that moment. And here's the rub. And this is what people don't get. If you're going to write your goals down, like you're writing your goals down today, your goals are only a view of your past self.
Right. Oh, I like that.
So if you show up as the highest and best form of who you are, then you have no idea what might be created in that moment.
I love that. And
so you're sitting there and you're saying, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to look at my process, and I might hit a home run or I might strike out, but that doesn't matter. It's all relative. Right. And then I think that it's more of a case of like, I got a great question, but the year that you retired,
right.
You're going to retire. What's the advice that you would have gave to your first year self?
Quit stressing out so much.
Yeah. I should tell myself that every day. Yeah.
I think what I would have told myself was, man, like, stop to smell the roses, like really enjoy, I think gratitude is such a big part of my life now. And when I look back at my career, like, I think I was very grateful for it, but I also think there was times it was just at times I didn't appreciate really, being where I was. And, I think I would look back and say, hey man, don't miss it. I told Justin Verlander this. Justin Verlander, I was with him in 2006 when he was a rookie and I was in my 9th year in the big leagues. Kind of, I played 2 more years and then I was done. And it was my 9th year in the big leagues and I never made the postseason before. And I pulled Verlander aside. I said, hey man, take it all in. This doesn't just happen. I've been in the league 9 years. It's tough to get to the postseason. Like, we're in the World Series. This may never happen for you again, right? And when he was in the 2017 World Series with the Astros, he quoted me on an interview. Somebody said, oh, Justin Verlander just brought back something that you said to him in 2006. And he said that same quote. Like, remember Sean Casey telling me back in 2006, like, take it in. And they were asking him, what did you think of this? He's like, I know this doesn't just happen. I know this isn't just easy. Like, you have to actually appreciate these times, appreciate these moments. Cause it goes by quickly. I mean, at the end of the day, all we have in our life really is that time. And when you're in moments like that, man, sit down to smell the roses.
No, and Jesse Itzler, who owns the Atlanta Hawks, created NetJets, he said that like, hey, how old are your kids? Well, my kids are 10. Well, great, you have so much time with them. No, you have 8 more summers.
Yeah,
and
8 more summers.
And it's like, dude, when you start looking at stuff like that, we think that we see each other all the time, and it's this thing, and so it's like, I think that we play this game where it's like, well, I'm going to get here and then I'm going to live my life there, or I'm going to do that. And I keep thinking to myself, like, why don't you just do it right now?
Yeah. We think we have the time.
Yeah. Or you could just do it right now.
Exactly. Or just take, and that's the whole thing about action. What am I going to do? Just keep thinking about everything? Oh man, that sounds like a good idea. In a couple of years, I'm going to do that. Well, why don't you just take action now and see what happens? Right.
No, I tell everybody, I came up with this. Everything that you're seeking is on the opposite side of action.
Oh, I love that.
Right. And so the question is like, if you would have waited around for your coach to recognize you, then you wouldn't have made the major leagues.
Right.
You had to create the opportunity through action to have him see you. And here's, and I'll land on that. Because I think that most people think that people see everything, right, but other people are in their own world. So you have to create your kind of own luck with what you mentioned, your preparation.
Right. Well, that's what I think. I think you're exactly right. I think we also too, like, I think we still live in a society too where we want to blame everyone else. I mean, so looking back at that story, I could have blamed my coach. I could have blamed the colleges that aren't coming out. I could have blamed it, but at the end of the day, like, no, I got to look at myself and be accountable for, am I putting the work in? Am I hitting every day? And nowadays in my life, am I eating right? Am I sleeping right? Am I meditating in the mornings? Am I making sure I'm moving? Am I on the Peloton? Am I taking a walk? Am I doing things that are, giving my energy? I'm a big believer in energy. Am I creating energy for myself every day that allows me to live my best life? And I think that's the biggest thing. I got to be accountable for that. I can't blame other people. Oh, I had a tough day because so-and-so said, he didn't like me, or so-and-so said I sound like an idiot on Austin's podcast or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, or whatever, like, say at the end of the day, I have to look at myself and go, no, I'm accountable for my thoughts. I'm accountable for what I do, for my physiology. I'm accountable for all of it. And I think, I understand that more now than I did maybe then. But then I put in the work and did everything I needed to do, action oriented, and it worked out.
Did you have any? Because I know this is a big thing in athletes and just people that are high and performers in certain fields. Did you have a hard time in transitioning your identity out of being a ball player to what you do now? Think I touched the nerve, guys.
I think so. I think every guy goes through that. I don't think there's enough people that. I don't think there's enough, for guys that play professional sports on when you're done. I mean, think about this. For 14 some years of my life, I played professional baseball. A few years in the minors and a few years in the big leagues. And then one day in 2008, after the Red Sox, we lost in the playoffs. I knew I was going to retire. And I can't even know who I told. I must have told about Peter Gammons or something. And I remember in my living room looking up on the ticker and it said, Sean Casey retires after a 12-year career 302 hitter. And there it went.
It's gone.
I was in my living room going, that's it. I just played, 14 something years. A little ticker goes by. It's gone. Here's the deal. Nobody cares. Like with that stuff. So like, the biggest thing is the routine that I had for all those years. Boom, 7 weeks of spring training, 6 months in the big leagues. 6 months, in whatever city you're in, 4.5 months in another, you're moving 3 times a year, right? You got a routine every day when you come to the park. You hit off the tee, you go get something to eat, you come back, you do your meditation, you do your prayer work, blah, blah, blah. Bam, you go out, you run your sprints 15 minutes before the game starts, you're ready to go. You get your 4 bats. You do 3 games there. Then you go to LA and play 3, and you go to Colorado. You do that for 14 years. And then one day you're in your living room and you look up and it says Sean Casey retires, and you're like, now what? Like now what? And there's been a lot of soul searching, I think, over the last so many years to be like, what's my identity now? I mean, I worked at MLB Network, so I still kind of stayed in the game, but you work 50 days a year. So it's sporadic, right? So mostly you're home and, you're really just trying to, almost create realize that baseball is not your identity. At the end of the day, like I'm a human being that has a lot to offer life. Like I'm a spiritual guy. I really believe that God's got, the fact that I look at it this way now, the fact that we're human beings, that we have a 1 in 400 trillion chance of even being here. Like there's something special about being a human right now. And I look at it that way now to be like, man, there's so much to offer now in life. And that's more of my identity than just, being able to hit a baseball or driving some runs or make some money.
Well, then who are you today as you sit right now?
Yeah. You know what, man, I think that's a great question. And I'm a very grateful soul. I'm so grateful for the life that I have. I have 4 wonderful kids. I feel like I'm a great father. I'm a great partner. I got divorced a few years ago. So, my marriage, went where it went. And I'm dating someone now, and I feel like I got another shot at that. So I feel like I'm showing up there. I'm a good friend. I just feel like I want to, you want to give back to life. I want to impact people, whoever I see, or, and that's why I think the process of like every day, it doesn't have to be so glamorous as maybe a speaking engagement, which, I do every once in a while. It's an everyday thing. I mean, I got to get my daughters ready for school this morning. I got to, make them lunch and make them a good lunch and make them stuff that they'll like. I look at every encounter I have with anyone throughout the day as a chance of to give back and a chance to serve.
So Mike DeSanti, a good buddy of mine down in Miami, he coaches men. Yeah,
dude, he's my coach.
There you go.
DeSanti coaches me. Yeah.
He said he did something that changed my life and second circle of impact, and everybody asked me, what's my why? What's, how do you drive so hard? And I go, I just want to impact everybody in every way. That's my thing. But everybody asked me, what's the ultimate goal for me? And I said, I want to be 75 years old. I want to be walking from my house in Tuscany, Italy, down the cobblestone streets. And I want somebody to yell out, holy shit, that's fucking Austin Linney. And I want him to run up to me and go, I don't know who the fuck you are. And he goes, no, you don't. But you coach so-and-so, and he changed my life. Wow. And we're so concerned about what the impact is that it's internally, right? Like what's it in our bank account? Right. What's it in our life? But when you can wake up and your impact is to impact others, meaning your kids or people that you're going to come in contact with, then you create a mechanism of goodwill that, to be honest with you, doesn't have a weight or any currency to it. And it just continues to build up, right? And so, when you stepped away from the game, and are you still with the MLB Network? Yeah,
still work with MLB Network. Okay. Yeah, I've been
so
at 14 years.
What takes up most of your time? What are you, dad or
probably being a dad takes up most of my time. I started a charity called Miracle League of the South Hills. We serve 350 special needs kids. We built this rubberized surface for our kids so wheelchairs could go on, and we played baseball. But we also built a huge inclusive playground that's unbelievable. And we just built, this is obviously over 10 years. We just built a concession stand that we use as a training facility for our kids, that they work at our concession stand. And then we're going to partner with other companies in the Pittsburgh area to hire our kids. So it's like that stuff, Austin, for me, bro, like that has been such that's it right there, man. I mean, just like, I just feel like if I'm ever having a bad day I always tell people, if you're having a bad day or you need a little joy in your life, come to the Miracle League for 30 minutes. It's a perspective bomb. Like it's a perspective, like it's just these kids are so joyful.
One of the biggest issues I have with America right now is that the people from 20 to 40 have forgot that the people that teach us the most lesson are 70 to 90 and 10 to 1.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's great.
And so you're talking about your father. We think that they're all done. There's a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of life that's lived. And then I was in a really shitty mood a couple months ago, and we had to leave California because of the fires. And I went up and visited my friend up in Idaho, and her 8-year-old daughter taught me more about life without any words than I've ever met in my entire life. Everybody that go by, she was waving at, hey, I hope you have a good day. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what the fuck do I have to be angry about? Like, shit, you know? And so I think that we are so focused on where we're headed that we're missing those little lessons in life. And they can come in the smallest of packages or the littlest of moments. You know, they say that temporary people leave permanent lessons.
Yeah. Well, I like that.
You know,
I like that.
And so, what do you think for anybody that's out there? I mean, obviously there's not a lot of people that are going to be playing in the NBA, but I think the lessons that you learned in baseball could be taught in business and in life in general. Yeah. What anybody that's not where they want to be, or they're not kind of reaching their full potential, how do they begin to turn the ship around, in your opinion?
Take action. And you know, I think one thing about us is that, you know, as humans and about somebody maybe that's not happy doing what they're doing, like, you have a choice. We all have choices at the end of the day. I really believe that. And like, I think, you know, the victim mentality that we all get caught in, oh man, I don't like my job, I'm kind of grinding through it. You know, whatever. I'm in a bad marriage and I just, you know, I'm going to figure it out and just do it. You know, I think the biggest thing is like, be accountable for everything in your life. Like go the direction of like everything that you eat, the way you sleep, the way you work out, the way you talk to people, the way you talk to yourself, you know, all that stuff. I just say, like, be accountable for yourself. Don't let the world just tell you who you are. Don't be a victim to circumstances. And hey, listen, if you don't like something, change it, right? You actually have the power. Don't give away your power. You have the power to do whatever you want to do. And I think that would be my message, is like, don't give away that power. And also too, like, I think one thing about life is like, we all live with the I have to attitude. I have to do that. No, there's so many things in life that we get to do. And like, you could take a job that you don't like. If you were a banker or something. I don't really like banking. You know what? You have a chance. You get to be a banker, right? You get to impact people. You get to show people, give loans out. Whatever you got to tell yourself. But I think, you know, the one thing is that we tell ourselves, you know, stories that don't serve us a lot. You know, I think, you know, we need to start as, you know, as men, you know, starting with me. I need to tell myself the story that best serves me and run with it. That would be the advice I would get. Quit telling yourself a story that gets you in the maze. Get yourself a story that gives you, man, I have a get to lifestyle.
I love it. Such good advice. Now, this section is mainly selfish for me because I played baseball most of my life. And one of the greatest things I ever seen, like Mark Grace was like my favorite player.
Yeah. You know, dude, Mark Grace, Don Mattingly, Will Clark, my three favorite players.
No batting gloves. And I saw the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. And, you know, he's still playing at the end, right? This was when he was in Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
And they panned in the locker room. I remember this like it was yesterday. They panned in the locker room, and all these young guys were drinking protein shakes after the thing. And Mark Grace had a cigar in his mouth and a fucking beer, and he goes, "You young pussies." He was like, "This is how you play baseball." Like, right. I just love that so much. Do you have any like crazy stories about guys that you looked up to that you met and you were like, "Fuck, man, this shit's crazy"?
Well, I mean, that's a lot of guys in Major League Baseball. You know, the big thing with baseball, especially when I was coming up, was like, you know, hey, having a couple beers with the guys after the game. You're talking about. I don't know if they're doing that as much now because I think they realize how bad alcohol is for you, and that like you can't really recover the next day. And a pulled hamstring puts you on a DL for 15 days, and that's a lot of money you'll be losing. So I think that it's a little different mentality. But I mean, geez, there's a lot of different guys that I hung out with throughout the years that were, I think sometimes it's a long year and guys like to have a couple beers and get after it a little bit. So
no, it's so great. I mean, look, everybody can do the business. Everybody can work and do different, right? I think that's what's so great. So before we get you out of here, I want to talk about the first day that you got called up, the first game. You remember it?
Oh my God, do I remember it? Yeah, we were in Iowa. We had just won the championship in Iowa in 97 with Buffalo. We were playing the Cubs. And so after the game, we got the champagne going. Everyone's all excited. And And usually when you get called up, you're on the 40-man roster, right? There's 26 guys on the roster. Back then there was 25. So if you're on the 40-man roster, they can call you up and they don't have to, make a move to get you on it, right? So I wasn't on the 40-man roster at the time, but I had a really good year. I hit like 380 in AA and AAA, and it was really, really good season. We had just won the championship. So I get called in the office. Brian Graham was the manager, and Mark Shapiro at the time was the head of the minor leagues. They called me in the office. They're like, "Man, congratulations. I had a big hit to win the game. So like, congratulations on the hit. And, what a great series, great season you had." I was like, "Oh, thanks so much, guys. What a great year. Looking forward to next year." They're like, "Hey, your season's not over." They're like, you're going with you're flying to Chicago tomorrow to meet the big league club at Comiskey Park." And I'm just like, "Oh my God, like, you got to be kidding." Like, literally. So first thing I did, I was so thankful. I hugged them and I ran outside. There was no cell phones back then. So I ran outside back into the stadium, and I went right to a payphone and I called my parents. And I was like, "Hey, Mom, Dad, they couldn't see the game either. I was like, I just homered to win the championship, and I just got called up to the big leagues." And I could tell, like, my dad and mom were just beside themselves. It was like the dream come true. Like those tokens, what was that, 10 years earlier, we're finally paying off. I was literally getting called up to the big leagues. And so my mom and dad were like, "We'll meet you in Chicago." And so sure enough, man, that next day I go out to Chicago. We're playing against the White Sox, and this team's loaded, bro. If you go back to the 97 innings,
Frank Thomas, right? Tim Raines.
No. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Frank Thomas and Raines are on that, but on the Indians I was on the Cleveland Indians, so it was like Jim Thome, Thome, and Omar Vizquel and Manny Ramirez and Dave Justice and Oral Hershey. Look, I mean, Matt Williams. They were loaded with all-stars.
That's loaded. Like literally like every all-star.
So it was ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. So I was like, I didn't even want to get in. I was like, just let me eat these sunflower seeds on the bench. And in the 8th inning, Johnny Gorel, who was the bench coach at the time, was like, "Hey, Case," he's like, "You're hitting. Dave Justice gets up. You're going to pinch hit for him." Well, I'm like, shit in my pants.
Did you got to pitch hit for Dave Justice?
Dude, yeah, I can pitch hit for Dave Justice. You kidding me? I'm like, oh my God, it's unbelievable. So sure enough, bro, our equipment hadn't come from Buffalo, so I had no equipment. So and in the big leagues, in the minor leagues, you got the double ear flap, right? In the big leagues, the big thing about as a player, you get the one ear flap, so you're like fired up. But I had no ear flap. They had no helmet for me. So I remember going through the helmets, and I pull out a 7 1/4 lefty helmet. It's Tony Fernandez, who I don't even know. And I'm like, "Tony, hey, I'm Sean Casey. Is there any chance I could wear your helmet? It's the only one that fits me." He's like, "Go ahead, my friend, no problem." So Tony hit Fernandez's helmet. I pull out Manny Ramirez's bat. It was a T141 Louisville. That was my model I used, and I was the only one I could find. And I was like, I didn't care at that point because I'm like, I got to go out there with the stuff that I use because I can't go out there with something else. First big league at bat. So Manny Ramirez is like, "No, my friend, take it, take my bat." So I used Manny Ramirez's bat, Jeff Manto's batting gloves, and Tony Fernandez's helmet. I went out there. My dad was in the stands, and forever, bro, we would give like we call it the Jim Casey high five. My dad would, since I was 10, I'd go out to on deck, and my dad would always go like this, and I'd always go like this, right? So sure enough, man, my first big league at bat, I look up in the stands. My dad's like standing up, double fist pump, and I look at him and kind of give him a nice pump. And just so excited. I go up there. I get down one ball, 2 strikes, and I end up getting a hit to the right side for my first knock. God. And I remember thinking to myself, "Hey, I did it. Like, if I don't get another knock, I'm in the history books. You look up the Cleveland Indians, Sean Casey. I got 1 hit, and and that was it. And then obviously, I luckily went on and played many more years. But that first call up and the first hit, I'll never forget.
When you hit the ball and you ran to first, do you have any idea what was going on?
No, you're just like,
I think that's down to the right side.
I blacked out. It was like, I remember the first 3 pitches. So I was, like I said, I was down 1 ball, 2 strikes. I remember the first 3 pitches. The adrenaline was so high. It was the first time in my life I didn't know how to control it. Like, I talk about breathing. Like, that was a skill I kind of learned. I didn't know how to control it. It was unbelievable. So I get the 1 and 2, and I remember stepping out. It was almost like a conversation with myself. Like, "Hey, you can't punch out your first at bat in the big leagues. You got to get your act together. Like, to start breathing and slowing down." And so I was able to slow down. And that was the only pitch I really saw was the 4th pitch, because the first 3 I was in an adrenaline, daze.
Yeah. No, oh my God. Yeah. Just the best. I remember. So my friend he probably played like, we played baseball in high school and together. He probably played, About like 9 seasons.
Who's that?
Matt Albers.
Oh, Albers. Yeah, I know Albers.
I went to
Albers, but I know Albers. Good.
Yeah,
pitching.
I went to high school with him. He's crazy as fuck. He's but I remember like he telling me like I remember he faced somebody that we always looked up to, and he just took him so deep. Like, I mean, it was like out of Houston Stadium, you know, and like we're so excited. We're like, oh fuck, you know, and then like, but it's, you know, it's interesting, right? Because and the same in business, you know, I think that we as adults, especially, and I'm guilty of it, and I try to remind myself every day. I think that we forget that ultimately everything is a game that we thought of that we wanted to do back when we were a kid. And so when I meet a client who's stuck or somebody I'm coaching, the first question I ask a grown man is, what did you like to do when you were a kid?
Oh, wow. And
go do that. Wow. Well, why? It's not going to make me money. Yeah, but it's going to unshake something.
Right.
You know, and I think we you know, me especially, I used to white knuckle everything. Like this has to work, right? This has to fucking work. And like, it doesn't have to work, because like who you're becoming in the process is actually the goal at the end of the rainbow. And this other guy is probably the only guy I listen to. Love his book, Bill Business. He says the work that you do works more on you than you work on it.
Wow.
And he says at the end of the day, the goal is for us to be the best version of ourselves, and the work will make you become that. And so the work that you're doing, you know, in the batting cages and everything just prepared you, like, to be honest with you, to be a human that's okay with the process of getting that in there. And I think that the glory and all the other stuff is just, you know, you talk to guys that run ultra marathons. I have a couple clients that do, and he's like, I've already ran the race before I ran the race.
Right.
And, you know, you probably were at those at bats a million times. You had already had them in your head or practiced them. And so that's why you're probably so, you know, your career was so great, because you had already taken the chops mentally.
Yeah. Well, you know, what's funny is I think so many swings you do take, and I think repetition is the mother of skill, right? I think I really believe that. But like, I think one thing that's great about baseball, and I think it mirrors life this way too, is like there's so much. It's such a game of failure, right? You fail 70% of the time, and they're like, "Great job." Mm-hmm. Like in any other walk of life, you fail 70% of the time, you're fired. No one's patting you on the back. So failure is such something that you almost have to embrace, right? Like I always say, like the failure. When I looked at failure as data, failure for me was information. How can I do it better? Oh, that guy just punched me out of that 2-2 slider. Okay. Next time I'm going to jump on that first pitch heater, because I took that first pitch fastball and I didn't want to get to the slider. Right. So like that information I needed to get successful the next at bat, not go suck my thumb in the corner and say, I just got dominated by that guy. No, it's over. That's the past. I now have to take that failure, use it, right? Failure is only a failure when you fail to learn, right? I got to use that as information and data. And I find that in life now too, like when things don't go your way or things, hey, it's okay. You know, what do they say? Like, you know, talk about the guy that's in the middle and he says, okay, he's supposed to go 1,000 miles that way in the right direction. He goes 1,000 miles in the wrong direction, right? That guy's better off than the guy that just stood there and did nothing. The guy that went 1,000 miles in the wrong direction is better off because he has experience to know, okay, we made a lot of wrong decisions that way. We got to go. We got to go 2,000 miles to where we need to go, but at least we have the experience of not doing it right. And that's so much better than the guy that just sits in the middle and says, I don't know what to do, man. I'm just paralyzed by my thoughts and I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. Right. So that's a big part of baseball, big part of life.
Yeah. Welcome to most everybody.
Exactly. So
if people want to find out more about you, they want to follow your journey, how would they do that?
Yeah, man. Well, you can find me on, we just launched a web. You know what? I do a podcast that we started about 9 months ago. You would love it too, bro. If you're a baseball fan, you'd love it. Like there's so many good guys. It's called the Mayor's
I don't want
Office.
to talk to the players. I don't care about what the players have to say. I want to hear from people like Peter Gammons, you know, like,
I had
you know,
Gammons. I had Gammons on 2 weeks ago. Gammons is so good, bro. He's like, I think the guy's a historian. He's walking Cooperstown, man. It's unbelievable the stories that he has. But that's called the Mayor's Office. Really enjoyed doing it. I've been doing it for probably almost a year now, and it's been a lot of fun. A lot of great guys I played with, but guys like Peter Gammons, and we've had a lot of different guys. So you can find me at the Mayor's Office, on YouTube or Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your podcast. And I'm also at the Mayor's Office on Twitter, at the Mayor's Office MLB on Instagram, and then I also have a website called at the mayorsoffice21.com.
I love it, guys. If you got some value from this episode, send it to your friends, share it with somebody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.